Hi, and welcome to another episode of I Didn't Die in a Fire
In
in
5D.
5D.
Yeah.
It was almost a snowstorm that I died in, not a fire, but who's counting?
Yeah. Those are essentially the same thing. I know when I think snowstorm, fire. So it comes right along with that.
Yeah, I mean, also, anytime I try to, like, I don't know, touch snow, my hands burn, so there's that. I believe it's called frostbite. Apparently
Probably
not.
shouldn't happen that quick.
Well, I mean, I live in the snow, so when you're cleaning off a vehicle, there's a whole lot going on there. But anyways, here we are back from our holiday break, aka we keep forgetting to meet together during the holidays to do stuff.
Forget. Busy doing other things, general life,
Yeah,
Same, same.
same. Any fun activities that you got yourself into during the holiday break?
Legitimately none.
Not a goddamn one.
Christmas, we just cooked ourselves a nice dinner. That was it. Nobody came over, didn't call anybody, didn't talk to anybody, didn't exchange gifts. Nope. And then New Year's, we just had some friends over, like sat up, drank, played board games, played video games, but nobody got super hammered. Really didn't even have a hangover the next day, and then went and got pancakes.
That sounds pleasant.
Yeah,
There's absolutely
but
nothing wrong with that.
but like nothing to report. Nothing happened. Real chill.
Fair enough. I wish mine was chill, but surprising everybody, I'm not going to give you the whole story. Long story short, had to drive over 12 hours in several snowstorms to get home.
I don't know who still travels over the holidays. You're like a crazy idiot.
I mean, I just know you're wrong because there was a whole many of articles, many issues of people just being
No,
stranded.
I know, but I don't know why anybody was traveling over the holidays because every year they're like, oh man, Thanksgiving, it's like the worst day of the year to travel. Oh, Christmas, travel's always a nightmare. And why would you travel within a week of that? Go early, stay, or just don't,
Hey,
It's crazy to me. It's crazy talk.
there were extraneous circumstances that involved work and other things that I wasn't going to be able to pull off, and I didn't go during these specific dates. Um,
You
so
just stay home. You know what's great about staying home? Everything.
for the most part, I agree with you. The rest of the time, when I only took the one trip, and it was to see my mother, and I hadn't seen her since like July. And,
Not even a long time.
I mean, it is for when she's got two kids and she wants to see her kids, right? Like it's a lot.
I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
But it's different. We've been through this, especially on the pod. Y'all folks, y'all really look. It's a different family dynamic. That's really. I was about to say something stupid that would have come off as me being a dick. No, y'all just have a different family dynamic. You guys don't do the family bits.
Yeah,
Um,
parts of them do. Some of them meet. Just the rest of us
And
don't.
see, it's funny because for me, it's literally my mom and my brother. They're the only two folks that I really go out of my way to see during. It's about twice a year at this point. Now that we don't live close to each other, but I try to make it at least twice a year, just to make the effort.
I'd
Although
love to be able to say like I'm an every other year kind of guy, but to be honest, I haven't even fulfilled that.
I totally get it. I don't know. In my opinion, my little brother's like my kid, right? Like 8 years younger than me. But in my opinion, I just feel like my mom's worked her ass off her whole life to get us to where we are. The least I could do is show up once or twice a year to some of the events.
In the
Um,
wild, your brother would have been eaten.
Well, also, what, Mexico? No, I don't think he would have been eaten, but he definitely would have not done as well as he has. Hey, but all that aside, I actually had some time off, and I finally got a chance to do some of the things I've been meaning to. One is
Mostly touch himself.
no. That's also.
Oh, fair enough.
Um, I rewatched that 70s show, getting ready. I'm kind of excited for that 90s show.
You started after me and have finished before me, and I actually don't think I'm going to be able to finish it before that 90 show starts like I wanted to do.
I during the gym and during any of those times where I can just have some in the background, I had it going. Do I remember every single episode? Of course not, but I've seen the show like 3 or 4 times at this point,
Sure.
so that's not what it's about. So I rewatched that 70s show. Excited for that 90s show. Fuck all the haters because it hasn't come out yet. I'm not saying it's going to be amazing, but look,
I'm going to watch it.
yeah, let's give the show a fucking chance before we get all uppity about it. So did that. I actually caught up on a couple of movies. I watched Black Adam finally. I know you watched it as well.
Yeah.
You and I are, strangely enough, you and I are following, I think, similar rating, but for different reasons. Does that
Yes.
sound about right? Because for me, it was okay.
I feel like you're going to come in rating it much higher than I'm going to come in rating it.
Oh, okay, interesting. I thought it was harmless. Honestly, thought it was harmless. It got a lot of hate, and I don't. People are saying this is the reason DCU is being rebooted. I'm pretty sure this isn't.
No,
Why?
this was definitely in the works long before. Just because we're hearing about it now, bro, do you have any idea how long these contracts take to, like,
Yeah.
spin up and plan and sell the parent company on? And no, this has been in the works for a very long time.
And I'm willing to go as far as, you know what, if this would have worked out, they probably would have changed some of the plans for the reboot of the universe. I don't know that it would have. Well, like, because look at Shazam. I feel like Shazam injected a couple extra years into the DC universe because of how well it did.
Sure.
I think like this could have done something similar, but I don't think it would have saved it. There was just too much there. There's too many shenanigans.
At the end of the day, it couldn't have injected much of anything because all it's injecting is more Shazam.
Yeah.
This
but-
is just a failed attempt at a Shazam like attachment.
Well, sort of. If done correctly, they could have launched off to do more Fate. They could have launched off to do just a standalone movie, right? Because they had all that stuff sprinkled in, right? They brought in a Waller. They even spoilers for people. The after credits scene, right? Like where they brought in Soups.
So that was apparently all The Rock. He really went to bat to try and make Superman in this movie.
Fair enough.
And and that was his plan, was to spin this off and have them make a couple of movies building up to Black Adam versus Superman.
Yeah, and again, I feel like if it would have worked, it would have happened.
It was never going to work.
Okay, why? What? Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just curious as to what your rationale behind that is.
It's an already middle ground, not top tier, not interesting villain. And I actually kind of don't mind going to bat on something like that because, I mean, like, you know, like the kind of comic circles that we run in, and I'm not saying like I run in this elite of just we know a lot of comic people is more what I'm getting at. We've known throughout the years lots of folks who read various styles and various types and various amounts of comics, but we know lots of comic people. I don't know one Black Adam stan. Like, I don't know anybody who's like, this is the pinnacle of... So, just first, though, I could have said the same about Guardians of the Galaxy a few years ago.
That was going to be my point,
I'm just saying,
actually.
let's come into it tempered of, we're already not talking about this like it's Superman or Batman. This isn't even Shazam. This is one of Shazam's villains. Let's look at the track record of villain movies. Venom didn't work. Morbius didn't work. Apparently the Carnage one is really bad. I didn't see it, but apparently it's really bad. The first Suicide Squad did not work.
Yeah.
It didn't work. And then they were like, let's do more villain stuff. But this time they're like, but what if he's not really a villain? Except he is?
Yeah.
Except he is, and kind of... Dude, here's one of the weird things that I was uncomfortable with, was like, oh, an American superhero is all about, saving the day, but a Middle Eastern superhero is just about kill the motherfuckers? And I was like, this really seems like a white guy making a movie about who can you look at did a white guy direct this?
I will double check.
It's a
Continue.
legitimate question. I don't know.
Yeah, it's all
But
good.
it just felt a little weird to me. That tone alone was already a little weird. And again, it's just a Shazam add-on. Building Black Adam towards Superman is this weird thing that has come up, but that's actually not the really interesting fight. The more interesting fight has always been Superman versus Shazam. So it's already just The Rock kind of pelvic thrusting his way into being this staple off of a character that's not really meant to be a staple. It's not built to be a staple. It's not a staple character.
So, screenplay was written by Adam. I'm so sorry, I'm gonna butcher this. Zitikel?
Okay.
And Jaime is the closest I can think of because he's I don't know if he's Hispanic, but he's Spanish American is what they're calling him.
Okay.
Who also happened to be the director, or Jom. I don't
Okay.
actually know how to say his name.
So not a white guy, but still not a Middle Eastern guy.
It was a white guy. Adam is a white guy. Jom is a part white guy, or actually, I don't know, Spanish American. That's what I
Okay.
can see.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah.
he was born in Barcelona as well. So
Okay, so it's already sort of uncomfortably written. It's uncomfortably laid out, and again, The Rock was pelvic. Like all these things are coming out now, where it was like, no, he was going around to executives, he was going over people's heads, and so even while the buzz was building, I was looking around, going, "Yo, does anybody I know have a fucking boner for this movie right now?" No. It was all fake buzz. This is not a tentpole character.
yeah,
It's never been a tentpole character.
So let me speculate here, because obviously we don't know. One is, I think the message they were trying to get across, which clearly wasn't successful, was we don't need someone coming in here policing us. We can police ourselves, and your morality bullshit has nothing to do with our real struggles.
I get what they were trying to say. I'm
Yeah.
just saying boil away the fat and the flavor, and the bones you're left with was Middle Eastern heroes are cool with the murder because the people are.
Sort of. It's just honestly, it felt more like you keep projecting your morality on us, because remember, the main evil faction was a foreign national mercenary group, right?
Sure.
So while I agree that it was poorly executed, I think I understand the message, because it's a message that has been being pushed for a long time. I'm not going to rehash it. Y'all know my experiences in the Middle East. And
Sure.
it's very much one of those. The resounding kind of feeling when I talk to folks is, you keep judging us by your ideas of what is right and wrong. And I agree. Black Adam, the character itself, I knew about it, but I knew very little about it, because I didn't read Shazam.
Even once you look into it,
Mhm.
he is not a tentpole character.
Yeah.
There's not a lot being built around Black Adam.
I just don't know why this was the hill that The Rock decided to plant his flag on.
Because it's the role he was handed, I think. And he really like when he had hair, I don't know why they played it bald either. But when he had hair, he really did look like this, or Namor would have been two roles that would have just suited him really
because
well.
they basically look like the same character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they would have suited him really well, and then I don't know, then they did what they did. And so this is just around the movie. Now I guess let's talk about the movie we got, right? So
Mhm.
you already came in, you weren't quite sure. I came in going, why is anybody excited? This doesn't make any sense. And then I got into the movie, and yeah, I was right. It doesn't make any sense, and none of it fucking worked. But let's go with somebody who's not going to be so short and
Sure.
yeah.
So the movie itself, like I said, I find it to be harmless, because it's not a standout film for the superhero genre. It's also not one of the worst ones. I have such a hate on for Love and Thunder. Honestly, has nothing to do with the depictions or some of the acting, because I again, that also movie was mostly harmless. For me, Love and Thunder, it was just like, it felt like a nothing movie. The stakes didn't matter, and it was a nothing movie. It could have been an episode of some throwaway superhero TV show, a what if kind of deal, right? I feel the same about Black Adam. The visuals were cool. Some of the fights were cool. I thought his interaction with the kid was funny sometimes, but it felt forced. The chemistry wasn't there. The story in general, because I'm not too familiar of it, was interesting in the beginning. The setup was great. Hated how they executed it. It just didn't make sense. I would have liked to know more about the character and less about the current conflict. I don't understand. While I enjoyed watching them, I don't understand why we even needed the JSA up in this bitch, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Like, I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. I love the actor that played, sorry if I'm fucking sip, Hawkman?
Yeah.
I love that actor. He was in another one of my favorite shows, Leverage. I think he did a good job with what he was given, but did we really need Hawkman? I know you disagree. I thought Pierce Brosnan's Fate was as good as could be expected. I also love Dr. Fate. I've actually read more Dr. Fate comics than I have Black Adam comics, because he's part of the magic verse.
I would be willing. I don't know that this is true for a fact, but I'd be willing to go to bat and say there are easily more Dr. Fate comics than there are Black Adam comics.
I'm pretty sure Dr. Fate has had several solo runs.
That's why I'm.
And I think sure. Black Adam has only had one or two, if that. I'm also kind of really annoyed. Like, I know you and I always talk about we don't want origin stories, we're over origin stories. But for a character like this, you kind of got to do a good origin story because nobody fucking knows anything about him.
Right.
So, like, not even, like, maybe you don't do a whole movie about his origin, but maybe you explain the whole, like, the wizards and that side of things. Because even Shazam didn't really talk about that side of things, right? Like, they gave you the basic setup. Here's baddies. Here's the team that fights them. Here's why we gave you your powers. But in this one, it mattered a whole lot more. Like the big reveal at the end, and I'm not going to spoil that, but the big reveal at the end felt super empty because nobody knew what the stakes were. Nobody knew why it mattered. It just, honestly, I just felt the movie was a throwaway. It was fine. Not the worst, not the best. The supporting characters could literally have been anybody.
Yeah.
They didn't act like... There was that one comic relief character who was only really around to be dopey every so often. There was the Ford, the plot character, and then there was the lecture, the audience character. Those were the three major supporting characters. Great. The villain was jokingly predictable in the beginning, and that redirect at the end was... It wasn't a gotcha. It wasn't a reveal. It was nothing. It was a nothing.
The Wonder Woman had the same fucking shit where, but who really is the villain? No, it was that guy.
Yeah.
He was right there.
Yeah. Him.
Always knew that. Never fooled.
And this whole, like, don't project your morality on us kind of deal. I'm like, look, okay, fair. Let's not tell people how to run their societies. But can we objectively just say that for funsies, dropping people off of really tall heights is probably on that list of things you don't do to other humans? Yep. Especially in a movie where you're trying to paint your character as an anti-hero. Like, there's plenty of anti-heroes that kill. But there's a very few that kill sadistically that I can recall.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the line that we crossed. At first we skirted it, but we just outright crossed it with this whole... it could have been done better. That's my take.
Here's where I'll dive in. And I'm actually less concerned about the story because, like he was saying, at this point, most superhero movies are generic superhero movie phlebotinum, put a little veneer of something special on there, and you got a superhero movie, right? They're all essentially the same fucking thing. Mm-hmm. So what I'm more looking for is like any interesting twists, any fun performances, any clever ideas. There's kind of none of that to be found anywhere in the movie. I can't point to any little bit of right. Like there were a couple of funny gags, but the door thing was really bothering me and my wife because like he kept doing this. Oh, he keeps slamming through the wall instead of walking through doors. And somebody was like, "Oh, they didn't have doors in your time." He's like, "They did." And he just keeps slamming through the walls, and I'm like, "Tee hee, you're just a dick." And we even kind of predicted the joke, not so much, but my
No.
wife kept going like, "He had doors in his time. Why is he just walking through walls? This doesn't make any sense." And then their justification was just like, "He's a dick." Yay? Tee hee? It wasn't funny. And that was a lot of the jokes were kind of things like that. Like, I'm not saying I never laughed or it didn't get like a rude chuckle kind of thing, but yeah, all in all, the script just falls really flat. There's no clever writing. There's no clever twists. There's not like a great running gag. The performances are pretty shit. This is The Rock playing The Rock. Maybe a darker version of The Rock than we've seen in a while. It's not the first time he's played a villain, but it's
Yeah.
dark. The Rock. I keep calling him The Rock. You're not fucking Dwayne Johnson. You're The Rock. God damn it.
You're only Dwayne Johnson when you do well.
The Justice Society I thought was a huge waste, mostly because they used like 2 interesting members of the Justice Society. Oh, and then like not the character, the character you want to see's grandson for no reason because we need a generic Mary Sue character for the audience so people can exposition at him, and a member who
Actually, he wasn't a Mary Sue. He was the exact opposite of a Mary Sue. Mary Sue implies that they have superpowers and can't be taken down, like plot armor.
Okay, sure. But you know what I mean. He's our relatable character. He's the us in the situation who's being brought in right now. So we waste Atom Smasher on that, and they just kind of make him a derpy idiot. There's like a random. Maybe she's in the comics in some run
I've never
of the
heard
JSA,
of her.
but I don't know her.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she's made up. The actress did okay. She didn't do amazing, but she didn't do poorly.
Yeah,
and same with the kid playing Atom Smasher. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. He was there. Hawkman did an okay job, but it was kind of a weird version of Hawkman. The spinning mace is stupid. Spinning the top of the mace adds nothing. That would, if anything, just make it harder to wield, while adding nothing. It adds nothing. It was somebody at the design studio was like, check this out. And a bunch of people had to go, yes! You know what I mean? Somebody had to be jazzed about that shit.
One thing about Hawkman that I forgot to mention is there was one moment that I pinpoint as the moment that the movie lost me. Towards the end, there's the battle between, spoilers, because who cares, Dr. Fate and the big old baddie at the end, right? As soon as the shield goes down, while there's still a possibility that Dr. Fate could potentially be saved, Hawkman decides to run up the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of what he's done the entirety of the rest of the movie, which was deploy his wings and fly.
Yeah.
And the wings weren't shown to be magical, so we can't say that's a magical protection. There wasn't any other explanation. Homie just decided to run up those stairs in that moment.
And we also did a really weird Hawkman in general, because, usually Hawkman is like an alien with hawk wings, or he is the reincarnation of a half of an Egyptian lover. He was a something and she was a queen, and they keep reincarnating and meeting each other and falling in love. We didn't do either of those, apparently.
Oh, he was an alien.
Was he?
Yeah. They talked about the ship and his weapons being nth metal.
Nth metal does not necessarily mean alien. I believe nth metal comes from another dimension.
But yeah, they specifically said, even with Dr. Fate, they mentioned that both Hawkman and Dr. Fate are from another planet.
Okay, fair. So I guess we're doing the alien one. It didn't work. It just didn't work. Yeah. It didn't work. And then Dr. Fate. I know you said it was fine. I actually really thought Pierce Brosnan gave an awful performance. I really hated it. It seemed very generic and phoned in. Honestly, it felt like he never read the script ahead of time, showed up, read it on the spot, no, I only do one take, thanks, and then fucked right off.
While all that may still be true, and I know you and I have talked about this already, but for the folks on the audio, we had a whole conversation on specifically Pierce Brosnan's performance, and we don't agree, and that's okay. But yeah, I
also have to throw out that really wasn't Dr. Fate.
Not at all.
Somehow the helmet operated even if nobody was wearing it, which I believe it could not do. If I'm remembering right. Because otherwise it would just float around doing its own thing all the time. What the hell was the point of the human host?
No, so there is a couple of things in the comics that would talk to what they showed. Not exactly in that way. There is a so in the comics, there's a fast forward like thousands of years, and the helmet has gone crazy. So it is implied that it has its own set of mind, and it seems to take parts of its host.
But that's I was getting there. What I'm talking about is there are parts where literally nobody is wearing the helmet, they're holding it, and yet it is still able to do magics. I don't believe the helmet is supposed to operate unless somebody is wearing the helmet.
I'd have to double check. I don't know if they had to wear it, but they definitely usually had to.
Because otherwise, it would just float around being a Doom helmet.
It did need a host in the comics, and I believe they could, because Dr. Fate does do the holdy bit sometimes. So I believe.
Yeah, he takes it off, but I don't.
I believe in the comics, as long as it's making contact, it can do some of its.
Because I'm specifically talking about a scene where Hawkman is just holding the Dr. Fate helmet, and it does magic.
I thought that was hot garbage.
Yeah, that doesn't work that way. Then there was yes, the guy who was the host for Dr. Fate could take it off, but the helmet itself was a real dick about when he was allowed to take it off because it didn't want to go away. It felt it had to protect things, and they were very cavalier with Pierce Brosnan just on and off with the helmet as much as he felt was chill.
That was the most annoying bit. I as I was watching it, I legitimately was wondering if that was a contractual thing, and I'm getting really tired.
It's fucking Sylvester Stallone and the Judge Dredd helmet all over. That's legitimately how it came.
Or honestly, one of the weakest parts of The Mandalorian, the show, is that.
Yep.
Is the actor wanted to show his face more and decided to keep taking the fucking helmet off, and I'm like, look, no, you're no longer a Mandalorian. There you go. You've ruined your whole thing. Hey, credits, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
The end.
Yeah, a lot of actors love to do that shit. I don't know why he didn't just wear the whole helmet and they did a Iron Man style scenes, right? Just show him inside the helmet. It's fine to show his face, but just I'm taking it off and then I'm putting it back on. I'm like, so people can just blast you in the face just for okay.
Yeah, and that's what they did with Look, it didn't work. I don't know, and I don't know why the Justice Society, when we're already doing that in Stargirl, and it just shows how bad DC's synergy is. Mm-hmm. You would never see a Marvel property reusing some shit like that. I know, we're DC, we're loosey-goosey. It's confusing as fuck, and it also seemed like there were contractual issues because none of the ones that showed up in Stargirl, at least as far in as I've seen Stargirl, showed up in this. Which tells me that there were contractual issues, and they were conflicting with what they could show. How many other teams are there in DC that the Outsiders could have showed up for this, and it would have been fine? Why was it this group?
I honestly don't know, and I'm bummed because you know me. I love the magic side of DC. I love it way more than I like the magic side of Marvel.
Side of the magic side, though. I'm sorry, Shazam is the lamest side of the magic side. of DC. I think Shazam's kind of lame. His power level's dope, and it's cool that he can throw down with Superman, because Superman has the whole, like, no immunity to magic, you know? But other than that, I've always thought Shazam was kind of fucking lame.
I always thought somebody sat down and was like, well, I want to make a Superman. How can I make a Superman? He's magic. Yeah.
But, like, yeah.
Yeah. No. I agree. I like the Shazam movie, but I haven't read Shazam comics. The only time I've gone into Shazam is during the crossover events. Kingdom Come, Shazam had a big role to play and things like that.
Billy was always cool when he could, because you know when, like, they bring out both Shazam and Superman, you're like, ooh, shit's throwing down right now.
Power level wise, for sure.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, they brought 2 tanks. Like, it wasn't cool just to have 1 tank. Those motherfuckers needed both tanks.
Yeah. No, for sure. But all that aside, like, DC has a lot of really cool magic team-ups and magic characters, and they have a whole side of the Magiverse, I guess, that they don't really like to talk about. And I just don't understand why. Because look at Wonder Woman. Technically, she's part of the Magiverse.
You know, if I'm James Gunn, that would be more my focus for DC going forward. Fuck solo films. Marvel doing all the solo films. You know what how connected are all the teams of DC? Bro, just with my shelves over here alone, I have 10 years of movies, and I mostly have crossover shit.
Okay, I know you're gonna hate this. Maybe.
I already hate you, so we're good.
Dream, not cast, but like dream setup for a movie. You make it a dimension hopping detective story with Constantine as your primary, but just like the JSA runs, Justice League Dark, you bring in some of these other really cool characters. Like, straight up, who doesn't want to see fucking Zatanna? Like, I don't understand how she hasn't been brought in a more primary role. It's just...
because nobody wants to listen to Paul Dini, even though Paul Dini is always right. I actually just reread Gotham City Sirens.
I was about to say, they already did a shit ton with Harley.
Well, and what's hysterical is the Harley run that they're doing right now, that's Gotham City Sirens. In fact, at the very end of Gotham City Sirens, there's a big throwdown between Catwoman, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy. And the way Harley distracts Poison Ivy is she leans into Poison Ivy's ears and goes, I know you've always been in love with me. And getting called out on it is just enough to throw Poison Ivy off so Harley can fucking club her in the fucking skull.
Yeah. Hey.
Paul Dini called everything happening in that show forever ago, because Paul Dini is always right.
Look, all I'm saying is supernatural detective story with Constantine and bring in Mr. E, bring in Zatanna, bring in what's Deadman? Fuck, Deadman would be so fun.
But that's what I mean about doing all teams, and like everybody's so rabid for like do this character, do this character, do this character. How great would the DC cinematic universe be if the movie slate was like Justice League, Teen Titans, Doom Patrol, Justice League Dark, the New Gods, because that is a whole fucking team. Like, do you get what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You could just do all the teams, and they can still interconnect. There could still be crossovers.
Yeah. And then your big bad event is a crisis event. It's already there. You wanna bring alternate versions of these heroes and watch them interact. You wanna bring fucking Owlman to punch somebody in the face. Fucking do it.
Oh yeah, the Injustice League.
Yup.
And you can do Bizarros for days. No, it's all team shit, man. It's all about team shit.
And maybe one day they'll...
Think of what you can really do, especially if you start with... don't start with Teen Titans, so you do Justice League and you introduce their young wards and you drop it into Young Justice. You give those kids time to grow up and become Teen Titans for the new age of Young Justice, and then they can filter into Outsiders. Yep. There's your fucking 20-year plan, motherfucker.
Or dude, and hey, guess what? we've been doing this for 10, 15 years. We don't really want to do this anymore. Actors are aging out. You know what they do? Pull a DCU. Like the game. How it all started. Bring Brainiac in. He gives everybody superpowers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, not everybody, but a lot of people superpowers. Fucking imagine the post-apocalyptic scenario that you can fucking pull off with what was it, 30-40% of the Earth getting superpowers?
Yeah.
Like, you really want to finish off, put a big bow on the end of your fucking, like, kill off a bunch of the superheroes in the same way, and the future is...
You end it with Infinite Crisis.
Which one? There's fucking like 3 of them at this point.
Infinite Crisis, not Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah, but there's Crisis or Infinite Crisis and Crisis are basically the same thing. They're just different Crisis events.
Yeah.
Yeah, my point is that, like, which one of those would you do? Infinite Crisis?
Whichever one is Anti-Monitor. Monitor and Anti-Monitor.
I think it's both.
Hold on.
I think Infinite Crisis is the one that starts it off, but Crisis on Infinite Earth also has to do with, like, the remains of one of them. I forget. It's been a long time.
He's the main antagonist in the miniseries Crisis on Infinite Earths, and later appears as an enemy to the Green Lantern Corps.
Ah, okay. So I was wrong. So Infinite Crisis. I thought they were all tied together. Are they not? Oh, no. Sorry. There's a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
We don't have time. We don't have time to talk about the entire DCU multiverse.
Hold on. I'm just looking at the cover. Yeah. So one is way later than the other. A Crisis on Infinite Earths is all about the Anti-Monitor, who has the anti-life equation, and it's a whole thing with Darkseid and alternate universes clashing. Mm-hmm. Now, Infinite Crisis, which I would love if they did, but really if they were going to do it, they should do Crisis on Infinite Earths. Infinite Crisis is fucking dope. Basically, if I'm remembering right, this was all because of the death and return of Superman and a bunch of other heroes. And it does come up during my favorite run of the Teen Titans. But basically, it involves an alternate version of Superboy, who's just kind of an evil dick, comes down and becomes strong enough to punch his way between dimensions, which also leads to there is a Superman who him, Lois Lane, and I want to say one other person, I don't remember who the other person is, are also trapped in this, like, pocket dimension after their dimension collapsed, and he's been watching this dimension and decides all you heroes are terrible, and you all make these edgy decisions, and so him and Superboy Prime bust back into this dimension and just start, womping up on heroes. And that's a really bad nutshelled version.
Yeah, I know. I do remember. I have read the entirety of those runs.
Oh, it is considered a sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Because I thought it whatever Crisis on Infinite Earths caused big chunks of the next one.
Yeah, well, so the reason it's a sequel is because where Crisis on Infinite Earths took 50 years of non-continuity comics and tried to shuffle them into one universe, Infinite Crisis did the same thing. It was like, for the last however many years, we really mixed some shit up. Let's do some shuffling back together again.
Yeah, it always feels like a reset event. I mean, that's kind of what all the, like, Flashpoints and all those felt like anyways. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't think Black Adam was up to snuff. I understand why
it wasn't very good.
I understand why it's not carrying anything forward, and it kind of bums me out that it's probably put a big Black Adam-sized mark on Shazam 2.
Oh, I think Shazam 2 is going to come out and do just fine.
Yeah, you don't think people are going to be hesitant? Honestly, man, it just seems like folks are burnt out on...
Well, luckily, they didn't really use the Shazam connection very well, so I don't think your layman knows that he's a Shazam villain.
God, that would be so sad, because they did both the classical outfit, they showed several of the wizards, and the
they never mention him. They don't put them against... Like, there's no I don't think your layman pays close enough attention. I
I
think maybe some kids will.
maybe I just that you're probably right. I still think that the last scene, the one we talked about, should have been Shazam and not Soups. I just don't understand.
When
why
you
they-
said soups, for some reason my brain went like SOUPS, soups, and I was like, soups?
Soups, yeah, no,
I caught up. I'm
yeah,
with you.
yeah. I don't. I was very confused as to why that was Superman. Like, it was cool, but I didn't understand why it was.
Yep.
All right, so we've talked about Black Adam and the DC Universe for a whole lot. I'm going to move us over to another topic that is probably even more heated, but we'll go quick because we're about 40 minutes in. Wizards of the Coast. So,
How much?
how caught up are you?
As caught up as I want to be.
Fair enough. So, here's the thing. There's actually a couple of things I wanted to talk about regarding this. First, let's talk about what's going on. Long story short, Wizards of the Coast used to have this OGL that even the creator of the OGL has come out and said this was intended to be a forever thing. Like, the whole, in a nutshell, it was a license that allowed people to take Dungeons and Dragons material and create their own things, whether it was books, adventures. Crit Role is technically operating on OGL, any of those kinds of things. They create content without being sued by Wizards of the Coast or the folks that own the D&D properties.
Right.
It has been leaked, so they could totally go the way that lawmakers go and redo all of the bad shit and pretend it was never there at all and the fans were just overreacting. Still a possibility. But if you go on YouTube and type in Dungeons and Dragons right now, I'm willing to bet that at least 80% of the content is complaining about the fact that they're redoing the OGL with some pretty shitty updates. It just feels like they're going the way of every other publisher that's out there now. So they're asking 20% of the take on anything that you produce using their copywritten material or their stuff. Apparently, they only gave folks a week to sign, or else they would have to stop doing the content. They're totally promising that, if you use the old stuff, you can totally still fall under OGL, but it looks like any of the new content creators getting into it, if they want to sign any sort of agreements, aren't given the option to use OGL 1.0. Another one of the things is they basically reserve the right at any point in time to use any of your creation in their materials without any royalty or anything going to the original creator, which is a huge thing because a lot of folks had created D&D characters and then used those characters to write novels or adventures. I mean, we're even talking about folks taking some of the creatures inside of the Monster Manual. I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe a lot of the like R.A. Salvatore stuff is very heavily D&D inspired. So imagine taking that and now owning a part of it regardless. And one of the most insidious bits on the licenses, it sounded that basically they have the right to change it at any time without your written consent. So you're just kind of signing this thing in perpetuity. That's the nutshell. People are pissed. A lot of content creators are super worried that they're going to lose access. And everybody's kind of wondering what the big creators, your Crit Roles and the other folks that have been doing this, the big Kickstarters, what are they going to do now? But that's one aspect of it. So that aside, there's also the big question of how is this going to impact D&D in general? And I know our gaming group gets together every Friday, and we had a bit of a large conversation about this, but where do you stand on this? How do you think this is going to impact D&D going forward?
Here's what I will urge people to do. Go play a different pen and paper tabletop game. D&D is probably the most entry-level friendly, but it's also the most played out, it's the most seen, and it's the most fucking done. Like, legitimately, as much as I still enjoy playing D&D with you guys, it's the system I'm interested in the least. Every time we do it. You stop listening to only Metallica. It's entry-level metal. There's lots of other stuff to get into. And stop just listening to the Ramones. It's entry-level punk. There's other shit to get into. This is stop just playing D&D. And for all the content creators who now have a following, what a great time to introduce your following. Like, hey, here's what's going on with D&D. And sorry that that game isn't going to be the same, but nobody is watching Critical Role or those content creators for that system. Nobody cares about those dice rolls. Nobody cares about that spell. They're there for the story, and they're there for those actors.
Technically, the system isn't the issue. I believe it's been ruled that game systems cannot be copywritten. It's the lore, it's the monsters, it's the deities.
Yeah, so go play in a sweet, smaller game that would love to have the exposure just so they can get the name of it out there. Go play those. Go even play some like B tier. Play World of Darkness. I'm sure that the guys at White
I like that you call that B tier.
It's B tier.
I mean, everything except D&D seems to be B tier now.
There's things below B tier.
Well, yeah, but my point is that, like...
I mean, but it's the same with comic books. A tier is only DC and Marvel. B tier is only Image. And then C tier is everything else.
I mean, that's the that's more of what they consider themselves. I don't agree with that.
That's what the sales consider them.
Ah, fair enough, I guess. Well, I'm just talking about quality, like...
No, but it's that way because of market shares.
Sure, I would quality-wise, I just disagree.
With tabletops, if we're talking about the size of the companies and the amount that they're selling and the amount of people who know them, it would probably be D&D and Wizards of the Coast, and then followed very closely by White Wolf as one of the ones.
Don't forget about Games Workshop.
They do a tabletop, not a pen and paper.
But they do both now. Okay, but I thought there were chunks of 40K that are more than just the figurines. But
I'm going to look that up.
Fair enough.
I've never seen it.
I thought there was a tabletop paper RPG. But yeah, no. So for me, I don't think you're wrong. I think this is definitely going to drive people away and drive people to try other systems. I'm not that guy. I'm not the one who keeps going like, yeah, we'll go do this other thing. I like a system that I know. I like a system that I'm used to. Does that have to be D&D? Of course not. But I will say the rolling the dice, the actual game mechanics, I just wish more systems would use them because they're pretty simple and streamlined. Honestly, I hate the World of Darkness rules. It's my least favorite.
Yeah, no, they're pretty shit. But yeah, no, just try other games, man. There are so many other pen and paper tabletop games that will give you the same type of experience with lots of new concepts and fun mechanics and things you can work with.
So
I would love it if Critical Role would branch out, like keep the main Critical Role stuff going. Maybe move it over to Pathfinder if they need to. That's what the game was originally played on, anyways. Was Pathfinder. So go back to that. But I would love it if instead of doing all the side campaigns of I don't know, weird other D&D adventures, if they would showcase some other really cool systems.
Oh, this one I'm really hoping for Campaign 4 they just drop D&D altogether.
It'd be cool.
I don't honestly at this point I just don't think Wizard of the Coast deserves the attention they're getting anymore.
Mm-mm.
It feels like somebody who was ignored and put off to the side, and then all of a sudden they're one of the popular kids and they just decide to be a dick about it.
Yeah.
You're becoming the problem. You used to be the thing that nerdy folks would gravitate to, and for years, we were talking about something like 20 years that the OGL was
longer than that.
So yeah, at least 20 years where the OGL was there, people could use it, and it's made them successful. But they're looking at folks like Crit Roll and a lot of these Kickstarters, and they go, "Oh, we could be richer."
Yep. So and it's a lot of it probably has to do with Hasbro owning the company now, but
yeah, I mean, and everybody kind of called it, right? Like everybody said, "Oh, Hasbro's getting them, great. This is
Yeah.
gonna be fun. They're just trying to turn it into. I just kind of hate the fact that they're one of the best ones right now when it comes to like D&D Beyond is pretty good. It's not the best. It's pretty good though.
Yeah.
I just wish other folks would be doing the same thing, but maybe as popularity grows, there will be.
Though I will say, shout out to Lancer and like the total grassroots build that
Yeah.
they have in PilotNet because it works flawlessly.
Yeah, it works pretty good.
I like PilotNet.
Lots of the modules and shit fail all the time, and it gets. a
But those
little
are homebrew.
funky.
You can't hold that against them. The officially released stuff works great.
I mean, it's all homebrew because it's community based, right?
But you know what? The stuff that's released by the actual guy versus the stuff that's released by community members,
Mm-hmm.
that's the difference.
Yeah, fair, but still, it's good. It's pretty good. Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it because that game is super fucking complex. So with the complexity, it was nice to not have to deal with that shit. If I'm being honest.
All right, on
Like-
that note, play us out.
Different weapons, different license levels, all that shit. It gets real
Your own
complex
weapon.
there at the end. Thank
Oh,
you.
just wait. The one I'm going to make you guys run, you're going to have to think of it like an Iron Man den. You're going to have multiple frames and parts and builds.
We'll
You're
see.
welcome.
Yeah, we'll see. Oh yeah. Oh, Ark's fucking mech just blows up every time. Mm-hmm.
That's actually a build.
No, I mean like that same mech. It's just like whatever. It didn't work for this scenario. Cool. I'll just hang out here and make stupid jokes. And
That
it's not
sounds fun
to
for everybody.
and it's not to spite you. It's supposed to be fun. When things become work, I stop caring. And I'm not saying yours is going to be that way, but I have been in other gaming groups where I'm just like, dude, this is work. Why am I struggling? I did an entire write-up for one of our games, and the rest of the team was like, nah, we don't want to do that. Okay, what do you want to do? Let's just punch things. I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't help. That's not how you
Punching
do
things is fun.
but it's not how you do a heist. You can't punch your way through a heist if you're trying not to get caught. So, anyways,
pay them.
I'm not bitter of the Mutants and Mastermind game that got fucking ruined by the players.
Never again.
It sounds like a lot of our tabletop games are kind of never again, especially as I'm
Never again.
rewatching the videos. Anyways,
Take-
on that note, oh, they're gone.
Good.
Our content has been greatly reduced because 2 entire series needed to be taken down because I decided to take a second gander. And it was like, yeah, I like having a career doing other stuff, and this would
Yep.
potentially impact it. So yeah, I took it down. And the worst part, wasn't even me. Expected it to be me. Wasn't even me.
Yeah, no, it wasn't us.
No, was not us at all. Ugh. Anyways, check us out Monday nights, 7 to 8 Pacific on N5D Podcasts on YouTube. Tuesday nights, we do multiplayer night, 7 to 9, twitch.tv/Metagame Network. The fun bit about that is we figured out how to get more players into one of the games that we play a lot, the Killing Floor 2. We can do up to 12 players now. We were limited to 6 and having to switch people out. So that's going to be oodles and oodles of fun. And then eventually they'll have a Killing Floor 3, which I bet you they're going to ruin because that's what everybody does now. I'm not bitter. On that note, final words, Bonsai.
I'm not bitter.